Hey everybody, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling and my wife Sarah is joining me on this episode, and we're talking about an album that's recently been reissued in its sort of 40th, they're calling it 40th anniversary, it's actually 41st. The fifth album by The Police, originally released in 1983, Synchronicity. It's been reissued in various forms. We're just going to talk about the 2-disc version here, the album itself, and some of the bonus tracks and the B-sides that are on the bonus disc. So it's actually kind of funny because you kind of got me listening to Sting and Police.
Sure, I'll take credit for that.
And Fleetwood Mac is on your shirt. But anyway, yeah, I mean, obviously growing up in the 80s, you couldn't avoid the Police. They were everywhere.
Not the hits, anyway.
Yeah. And that kind of, one of the interesting things about Synchronicity is that, you know, in all these years, you'd think somehow an album that big, you would just hear it somewhere. But I realized when I put this on that a lot of these songs I was hearing for the first time, other than the well-known songs. So,
and I mean, there are quite a few really known songs on this.
Yeah.
But there were quite a few that I was not familiar with either.
Now the first, well, I guess talk about the packaging here. It's got all these photos inside of it, and various photos of the three members of the band. Alternate. My understanding is that there were several alternate issues of this album cover, all that are a little different, but all with the yellow, blue, and red. There's a booklet in it with the liner notes, new interviews, basically talking about this album. Because the Police are interesting because they're one of the only bands I can think of that literally stopped at their peak of success. They never had that come down where the sales got less and less and less. They kind of stopped. They never had an album that sold less than the one before it. So their legacy was sort of like between 78 and 83. It's very compressed
They condensed a lot in there.
And yet their music has never left the airwaves. And I think it still sounds fresh today.
I would agree.
I don't think it sounds dated.
So the one that I download, because I like digital, so the one that I have, I know that's contrary to most.
I don't hold it against her.
He kind of does. I don't know if you can see that or not.
You can definitely see the colors.
I'm getting a lot of glare.
Glare.
But ultimately, it's the super deluxe edition of Synchronicity.
Yeah.
And I believe I read it has 84 songs on it. And it's got the demos and alternate versions and remixes. Because we were listening to it earlier, and I said to Tim, like, these sound strange.
Yeah. Now this is sort of the condensed version. So they just chose they picked a few of the songs that appear in the deluxe version.
The B-side on this the live? Is that?
There are some live B-sides on here.
Okay, because there's quite a few live versions on this super deluxe digital version.
I mean, it's obviously well done, well put together from Universal, A&M, Polydor, whatever you want to call it. So let's talk about the album itself, the original 11-song album. Until I think we started watching Rick Beato's videos, I was not familiar with the song Synchronicity 1. And it's quickly become one of my favorite Police songs.
That said, I do want to say that we were trying to listen through this in its entirety when we were working in our attic on our vacation a couple weeks ago. And it was kind of I don't know if anybody else has done domestic DIYs together as a couple. We tend to do these kind of things, and anyway, we like to listen to music, and sometimes we'll make playlists to do that. But usually we have kind of a varied mix, and so when Tim suggested, I thought, sure, let's do it, because it's varied. It's the Police, so you're going to get different. Not necessarily different genres, because it always sounds like the Police.
No, but you're
different.
Yeah, it's not like we made, and I love them, but it's not like we made an AC/DC playlist.
Right.
So.
But that said, when you are stressed, and we were very stressed, it was very hot up there in our attic. It was like a sauna.
Yeah.
The sweat was kind of pooling, and we had masks on, so it was extra hot. And we don't really know what we're doing. And I had gone to get something from my parents, was gone maybe 15 minutes, and I come back and Tim's like, you were so done, and you were like, I can't do it.
I can't do
And I'm
this
like,
anymore.
We can't quit. And so then we discussed it and ultimately decided that we were going to switch up our playlist.
It made a difference.
And it made a big difference.
Actually
and
made
here's
a difference.
why. So I think it's because, like, and I love the Police and Stuart Copeland, like, it's very frenetic, and I don't know how else to say it.
The Synchronicity 1 song, there's a big difference between Synchronicity 1 and 2.
Yes.
Synchronicity 2 is the Many Miles Away. That was the hit single. Synchronicity 1, you'd have to have the album to have heard it, so we listened to it like on a Rick Beato episode. It's a really cool song, but it is very frantic. Synchronicity.
And if you're in a heightened place, but that's not the only song that's kind of frenetic. There's a couple of them, and then the Mother, yeah, and Miss Gradenko even.
I like that one.
I
But
like
also, we weren't familiar with. It's sometimes you like the familiarity. So I think we ended up putting on an early '90s playlist, and
We did.
We got the job done. And the reason I wanted to listen to this then, I thought we were going to do this episode sooner than we did, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, sometimes.
I know, and I went off on a bit of a tangent, but all that to say, like, there's a time and a place,
Yeah.
and some things don't fit
This is-
every scenario. So we did better once we switched
Yeah.
it. But
we're pulling up old insulation and trying not to cut ourselves and yeah, it was about 100 million degrees.
try not to fall
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
plaster
Pull the
and
Clark
like
Griswold
Clark
and fall through the floor. And it's about 100 million degrees, and we're listening to these songs we're not overly familiar with. Yeah, so she came by, is up and sweating, and I'm like, I'm finished.
Tim's
I'm
like,
done.
we can't do this. This is why people hire people to do things. We can't do this. And I'm like, we are doing it. Anyway, all is well. We're still married.
Yeah, so Synchronicity 1, great song. It's a great song. I wouldn't play it if you were in a heightened sense of anxiety.
No.
But it's very catchy and it's very rhythmic and yeah, it's very challenging. Next one, Walking in Your Footsteps is interesting. It's I don't know if he's singing about dinosaurs or what.
I have no idea.
No, I think it's about dinosaurs. I'm not sure.
Metaphor, an allegory. I'm not sure.
Yeah. The next one I like, oh my God, this one sounds like, to me, this one sounds like something that could have appeared on one of the earlier Police albums. I do like it. And then, of course, the notorious song on here, which even before hearing it, I'd heard of it, is Andy Summers' song that he wrote and sang
I had not heard of it.
called Mother. And it is, I don't know if you'd call it avant-garde or like it's, the telephone is ringing again. Is that my mother on the phone? It's the music is atonal and harsh, and it sounds like he's gradually losing.
And it makes you start to feel like you're gonna lose your mind.
So here you are sweating up here.
Don't listen
Mother!
to it if you're in a heightened state
Yeah.
of any sort.
Generally considered to be the worst Police song.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is a song you put on if you want people to leave.
Yeah, that's probably true.
The next one I really like. It's a short little one. It's a little less than 2 minutes long. Miss Gradenko. I
like it too.
I like this. Was anybody alive in here? Nobody but us. It's really catchy. It's, very classic Police sounding. And now, oddly enough, 6 songs in, this is when we get the hit singles, all 4 of them, one after the other.
Back to back to back.
Synchronicity 2. I can't remember. We did our top 5 Police songs episode
I don't know
a
where
while ago.
we ranked it.
This
but
was
it
one of
high.
mine. I really like this song. I've always liked this song. I don't want to say it's heavy, but it's got a little bit of menace to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of not all other songs do, but this one's got a real like. Da 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 da.
It's a statement too somehow, and
It's the idea that you've got this father living this, he's going to work and his kids are driving him crazy and his mother's got, grandmother screaming at the wall and yet as things are going sideways in his life, many miles away, the sea monster is rising. It's like the Loch Ness monster is rising to the surface. So
is this the one with kick in the crotch?
yeah, the concept of synchronicity, like seemingly unrelated events or related. It's Sting. It's really,
is very
it's
Sting.
really deep, but
it's
so catchy. You know, the Many Miles Away. It's a catchy song, and yeah, you know, anybody that's ever had a difficult, you know, boss, we don't. But anyone who ever has, you know, every single measly minute with his so-called superior is a humiliating kick in the crotch.
I think
Still
most
got
people have had a boss of that nature at some point in time, but
and then of course it's Every Breath You Take, one of the biggest songs by anybody,
classic.
anywhere.
Oh, I do want to mention though, because I don't think it's on the. No, it isn't. Are we gonna do the B-side separately?
Yeah, we're just talking
okay,
about the
I'll
main
stop.
album. But I think I read that this song alone accounts for, I don't know what yearly
That Sting
earnings
makes?
of his
Are you
wealth.
including like the samples because
I
he's making
probably-
a killing from?
Someone who's in a lot of trouble. We won't even mention the name, but
Okay, but
someone who famously sampled the song in the '90s,
isn't it
$2,000 a
A
day or
day.
something like that.
a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, like in perpetuity. Eventually,
Sting.
and from what I understand, that money's going to run out. But next up, another classic, King of Pain. You know, this
I
was
love this
this
song.
was one of the songs that when we saw Sting in concert a couple years ago, his son Joe sang this one.
This ranks high for me.
Yeah.
I just thoroughly enjoy.
Wrapped Around Your Finger is a really cool song. I like the
Mm-hmm.
lyric to this one, like Turning the Tables. This is a cool song. It's probably the only top 40 single with the word alabaster in it.
Again, Sting.
Yeah,
Because he can, and
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy his writing for that. Like he really.
well, his lyrics
with the
read
language.
as, like, I remember in grade 11 English class, we studied King of Pain. So it was kind of cool to have, you know, a rock song being used as an assignment in school.
There's a little black spot in the sun
Yeah.
today. It's my soul up there. It's
Poor-
great.
Poor,
It's great.
Poor Sting. I feel bad for Sting.
You know, he has a very difficult life at this point.
Tea in the Sahara, that's a little bit different. Tea in the Sahara with You.
That's a cool title.
Yeah, yeah, good. You know, you don't. It's not like they're using song titles that have been used 100 times.
No.
And the last track, Murder by Numbers. I'm not sure, but I think this song has something to do with like Illuminati and.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think there's a.
Why do you say that?
Because I think I read it somewhere.
I was gonna say. Didn't we hear? No. Was it Rick Beato that talked about this one
I think he talked about this one and
Somebody did.
Synchronicity one on the same episode.
episode?
Yeah.
But we saw something. He performed this. It wasn't when we saw him live. I don't think.
Murder by Numbers?
Yeah.
It's not
Am I
coming.
having a moment?
It's not coming to me. Well, I must be having one.
I feel like I don't know. Maybe we just watched something about it and it's ringing a bell.
Like,
It's
admit
a
it-
different version. It's kind of jazzy or something. Like
It is,
there's a
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
The tempo and everything. Oh, we're gonna hear music from
Oh, we
next
got.
door.
Admittedly, neither of us are experts on the entire Police catalog, so
No.
go easy on us. We're just talking about this particular reissue. So that brings me to disc 2, which is on the 2-disc version of the B-sides and bonus tracks. The first one that we have is Truth Hits Everybody remix. I believe Truth Hits Everybody. I don't have it right in front of me. I think this is a song from their first album.
Oh, that they brought.
Why it's on here. These must have been B-sides in various territories, like all over the world, because they were such a
That they
popular
wanted to
band
include, yeah.
worldwide. So for the collector, I would, you know, maybe in some of these cases it might be the first time they have digital versions of these. But there are a few songs that didn't make any album, like Man in a Suitcase live. Yeah, that's a short little one, 2:18. That's Someone to Talk To. Someone to Talk To is an interesting song.
Isn't that the one that I asked
This
you?
is
It's
this is
Andy
one.
Sumner?
This is Andy Summers. This is a regular song. This is not. You know, this is a listenable song.
You're really giving the other one a hard time. Not that I liked it. but
Somebody's going to. But this is a song that he really wanted Sting to sing it, but
oh right, and he refused.
Sting would not. So, and I can hear it. I could hear what it might sound like, you know, if you listen to it. Next up, you know, is a live version of Message in a Bottle. Then there's I Burn For You, which this is a song.
Love this song.
Yeah, this originally appeared by the Police on the soundtrack to a movie called Brimstone and Treacle.
All right, that's the one he was in.
It's
Right?
really
Was he?
twisted plot of this movie. He's essentially the devil, I think. And anyway, actually, when you were telling me about that Saltburn, it made me think of reading about this movie. It's very twisted. But this song was on the soundtrack, and Sting did a jazz. Maybe this is the song you're thinking of. He did do a jazzy version of this on his live album "Bring on the Night," which came out in '86.
I think it's on. I think that he's done several new versions of some of these classic songs.
But this is the studio version of it with the band. Then, speaking of twisted, we have "Once Upon a Daydream," which it kind of goes like an old folk song, but the lyrics are dark.
It's like a dark
lyric. It's like
initially I thought it was kind of like a fairy tale of some sort, but dark.
Yeah, it's like a dark folk tale.
Yeah, for sure. Murder and all.
Yeah.
Still.
So then we have Tea in the Sahara live. Every Breath You Take backing track, which if you've ever wanted to try and sing it but have, the band playing behind you, be my guest. That's what it is. It's essentially you can karaoke it.
Oh.
As for some reason, that one I get, but then there's one for Roxanne, which has nothing to do with this album. I can't see them putting these out as B-sides. Anyway, but they're here. So if you want to karaoke Every Breath You Take and Roxanne, have at it.
People love to,
Lots of luck. Then we have Wrapped Around Your Finger live, and then we have another interesting song called Every Bomb You Make. Musically, this is Every Breath You Take with different lyrics, and these are lyrics that never would have, this song would never have become the hit it was if it had come out in this version. So I have to think that Miles Copeland or A&M or someone said, you got to write some better lyrics for this, because this sounds like a hit, but not.
I think if I were to do it, like we were saying, if you were an 80s band or something like that, you wanted to do like the regular verse of Every Breath You Take and maybe go like as an outro, you could go into the other.
It makes me think of the Dan Band on Old School, throwing F-bombs in where they don't need to be, just to see how long it takes for people to,
realize it's a different song.
And then there's a few live tracks. There's Walking on the Moon, Hole in My Life, One World Not Three, Invisible Sun, Murder by Numbers. And then there are a couple of songs at the end from the album, Walking in Your Footsteps and Tea in the Sahara, and they're both called, instead of a arrangement, they're called a derangement.
Like kind of dismantling?
I guess. Must have been early versions of them. But yeah, there's a lot more on the deluxe version. It's like, like most of these things, you could spend as much as you want on them. But
well, basically, on the Super
there
Deluxe,
just seems to be a lot more versions of the same songs.
Well, it is. So we've got Synchronicity 1, the demo, Synchronicity 1, an alternate mix, Synchronicity 1, instrumental.
Yeah.
Variations on that, and there's some an outtake. There's a couple of outtakes on here.
Yeah, I don't think there's any songs on the original album. There aren't at least 2 other versions on the fully deluxe version.
Okay, so I don't know what these ones are. Like, I'm Blind. They've got a demo.
Yeah. Walk. I'm guessing that's an early version of Synchronicity 2.
I don't know. We should have listened.
Good man. But that's not on the version that we're talking.
No, I know. I'm
people can comment on that. I know people have done episodes on the fully deluxe version. Yeah.
This one is, so it's 84 songs, 5 hours, and 58 minutes.
So these live songs must be from the Synchronicity tour. I think they had background vocalists. You can hear them on One World Not Three. So there you go. And as far as, the remastering goes, the Police album sounded pretty good from the beginning, especially Synchronicity with Hugh Padgham. And so, it's just very crystal clear. And, it's an enjoyable experience. And it's cool to hear these songs, these extra songs. They probably had at least one album's worth of unreleased songs, not just alternate versions.
They probably had some. I mean, who's to say what they've got?
Yeah, and and it's interesting how many different versions there are, because these guys legendarily didn't get along very well, but when it was time to work on the music, they worked on the music. So,
but you'd still have your outtakes and the, somewhere there's probably a lot.
It's interesting hearing these familiar songs in these different versions before they solidified all the parts.
Actually.
Like for example, that every bomb you make, he's singing the phrasing as we know it, but when it gets to the midsection, that since you've
pacing?
gone, I've been lost without a trace, there are no lyrics there. And so not only did he rewrite the lyrics, he also wrote a bridge. And you can't imagine hearing Every Breath You Take without that
it.
part. So, yeah, it's interesting, the embryonic versions of all of
It's
these songs.
also, there were a couple that I had noted, and I wish I could remember which ones they were that we were listening to. But it almost, I thought it sounded like schoolroom instruments or something
Yeah,
like that.
there was
like
there's a
with
version
the,
of
It was
of-
very synth
yeah,
heavy.
there's a version of, I think it's Synchronicity 1, where, yeah, it sounded like it was played on a koto or one of those Japanese type instruments. And yeah, it reminded me of Jimmy Fallon's classroom instruments when they'd have people do that. And there's a version of King of Pain that's like that too.
I think that's
and
what
I
I was
think
thinking of.
and I think that the Synchronicity 1 is even faster than the finished version, because it's a pretty
It-
fast song to begin with, BPM wise. I think the original version is even faster.
Yeah.
So
Well, I don't know. I mean, but then you get Copeland's, like the harder drumming and everything too, so
yeah,
kind
good
of
collection.
the
You know,
ambiance.
a worthy addition to the the brief Police catalog. Only 5 proper albums, and then you get things like this. So that's our review of the reissue
With a bit of storytelling.
with a bit of storytelling. And yeah, so thanks for watching this edition of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Don't forget to hit subscribe. I know a lot of people are watching, but not everybody's subscribing. Doesn't cost a thing. Just hit subscribe. It helps me a lot. If you want to further support the channel, you can purchase my books. The links to that will be below, or merch through tpublic.com. So we'll see you next time around on Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Go listen to some Police.